Hey,
It's what's up, man?
what's
It's
going on, bro?
it's funny. This is day 4, and this is the first day you didn't do the countdown. I was wondering how long it was gonna take you not to count down with the countdown.
I didn't know if you saw it or not.
Yeah, no, I peeped. No, I wanted to jump in today in regards to something that just came up, and that's probably what'll happen as you guys have questions or we have conversations with the clients, it'll show up here because if you have the question, then everybody has the question, and it comes down to a cliche that people use where they say reading is fundamental, and it is, but in this day and age with technology, less and less people are reading, and it was it showed his head. It reared his head yesterday, and it was good. But because it provided clarification to why it came across the way that it did, I wish we would have known it up front. But it's not necessary either. And I know that I would never tell Hudson to skim or Bellamy. Those are my children, by the way. I would never tell them to skim something. But with what we're building, if it's built properly and you're leveraging it properly, you really don't need to read anything anymore. And I
Yeah,
encourage you to skim it, but you don't really need to read it.
yeah. I mean, when you could throw it into something and it's protecting you, and it can read contracts or documents or agreements in a way that that sees gaps and holes. Not to say you still don't need an attorney to take a look at it, but some
Mhm.
things you should be able to negotiate before it gets to your attorney. You know what I'm saying? Nobody really wants to read the fine print, but at the same time frame, if you don't, you hear words that sound like we're in alignment, and that could be the lure. And I heard something yesterday that was really good. If the enemy can't get you to do evil, he'll trick you in doing something that seems to be good. And then it feels good, and then all of a sudden it starts feeling bad, and you don't know why, because really at the end of the day, it's like you aligning yourself with someone because y'all sound like the same. Y'all saying the same, but the way y'all getting there are two different ways. And their heart ain't your heart.
Yeah.
And, and I think that that's something that when it comes to collaboration and partnerships, I think that's extremely important. It's not about, getting a yes. It's about getting the right yes. And I think you should be more diligent of saying no and protecting what you are working on, and look at this as a long game versus something that you're just trying to hurry up and microwave success quickly just because somebody aligned to a goal that you both verbally are saying out loud.
Yeah. Yeah, you said trick you into doing good, and I had a conversation with one of our colleagues that we've kind of integrated and partnered with in some of the ventures because of the skill set that she has, and I was talking to her earlier today, and it basically came to fruition that she was manipulative, and she took exception to it. I was like, It's not manipulation. I mean, manipulation just has a negative connotation, just like you just said, trick somebody into doing good. Like her intentions are good, and a lot of times she's manipulating and tricking people into doing things to get out of their own way, which takes me to what you said before when you were talking about protecting protecting people from themselves. And when we build a system for somebody, a lot of times when you say protecting people from themselves, it's really about putting guardrails in to keep them in a box, but not in a box again, that good versus bad, not in a box like we're trying to restrict them, but in a box where they're constantly operating in their strengths and allowing the system to do the lifting that isn't necessarily in their strength or in the sphere of their strength, but also isn't something that they should be wasting their genius on anyway. And she also does that because she builds too, protect her from herself.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that's the hardest thing. Um, you call that the overfunctioning leader.
Yeah.
And I think what's something I think the thing that kills most businesses, especially owner operator businesses, the sneaky thing is the word capability. I think
Yes.
the more capable you are, the more damage you do to your business. And I think the more handicapped you are, the better you start utilizing other skills to push you through those things you don't know. And when you become more capable, you become more rigid on even seeing opportunities that are right in front of you. And you second guess those opportunities because your only nature at that point is to look at your past and determine, does this cause me pain? Did, did I ahead, was this uncomfortable? And if it reminded me of anything that was uncomfortable or reminded me of something that I took a loss on, then it can't be good for me. I'm backing off. And some people call that wisdom. I could tell you right now, have I got bad advice before? Yeah. Do I stop seeking counsel because of it? No. But that's how we approach our decisions because we use our gut feeling. And
Yeah.
so, there's a difference between being capable and being in capacity. And there's a blurred line that happens, man. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And so, when a person who, as you were speaking about the person, they're in this situation, just because they could do it really quickly, really, really fast. And then when they really want to grow, what happens is that, they become the entire system wires to them and they always are constantly having to pour back into those gaps that they never actually expose so others can take that baton and run with it and take it to the next level.
Yeah. So, I mean, what you saw me doing now was taking notes because it's what I do to protect me from myself. Because otherwise, I'm going to interrupt because I get excited when you say things like when you're talking about capable versus capacity. I think that's one of the things that kind of separates our approach from other people that say they're building a business brain or providing a business brain because we take those capabilities and those capacities and without getting too deep into it, just make them accessible to everybody so that you don't have to necessarily rely on yourself to compose the email, to respond to the message, to execute whatever it is that needs to be executed. You can essentially just give them access and you control the access. You can give people access on different levels, but you can essentially give them access to you, not necessarily to you, but access to you, your thought process, the way you think about things. So those capabilities that you encompass, they now have those same capabilities and that same capacity to execute at a very high level. So you're not necessarily compromising the quality of the output because the output is still being channeled through you without you necessarily being the one that carries it from point A to point B. And I think if you can inject that or integrate that into really any business, like how much more profitable, how much more productive, how much more effective could you be in serving whatever client sector it is that you service?
That is, listen, when you in the trenches and you see the ebbs and flows of how, oh, this was a busy day or this was a slow season. I
Yeah.
don't even think some of us even recognize. I think the restaurant business does, but I don't even think we really recognize what's happening. Like, when a city wins a
Because
championship.
you can't see the forest from amongst the trees.
Right. So when let's say a city wins a championship in a professional sport, obviously
Next.
the economics increases, right? So if you're looking at, man, we need to do last year's numbers, but you're not really comparing what took place, like you don't know what current events took place, then that's really difficult to do.
Right.
And so other things too, like if I'm someone who is in supply chain and I may have a really great catfish, but the question is that it's not just about the season of catfish. It could be just the idea that, people just enjoy that this week. But if you're a business that's looking at how all these things work together, meaning like not just how customers you're serving, the time that you're serving these customers, what events that are occurring, now
Uh-huh.
you can start making intelligent, informed decisions. So when prep teams come in, I say like a restaurant, scheduling comes in because you recognize this time of the year, the last 3 years, this is how many people have come in.
Yeah.
You now are starting to, this is where I think that we talk about this a lot, where, now you have the ability to compete with big chains that has invested so much money and resources to know that data, to know
Without
on
the
how
spin.
Right, and then they can reduce their margins a lot
Mhm.
better than, let's say, someone doesn't. But with technology right now, people thinking about just creating graphics and creating websites and apps. I mean, to be
Yeah.
honest, let's talk about how can we really measure our business by the numbers and actually use real live data that support our decision for tomorrow. I think that that right there is a undercap that some small businesses right now are just not really seeing the forest when it comes to technology in that space.
Yeah, no, I think it really comes down to, and you said from day one of the first things that we kind of anchored this business on is having data field conversations. And I think that still holds true today. It's just easier to amass and analyze the data than even it was 3, 4 years ago when we started down this path to where we are today, and staying abreast of what's happening and what that means for your business and how you should adjust and the scheduling and the orders, to have all of that be done autonomously without you having to sit down and create the spreadsheet, do the Google search, and knowing where to start, and having it be um, comprehensive to where the gaps fill themselves is immeasurable when it comes to a business. And when you talk about competing at a high level, these are things that big businesses have had. They have entire teams dedicated to it that now you have at your fingertips. So, I mean, you really have an opportunity to move the needle if you tap in and harness the opportunities that are right in front of you, hidden in plain sight. And that's what we talk about in the webinar every Wednesday at 1 o'clock, is how you, regardless of what industry you serve, where you are in your business, can get from where you are and consistently, if not immediately, close the gap from where you are to operating in the capacity that you want to, that you dreamt of when you started the business. And we would love to help you along that journey. And I was laughing earlier when you talked about current events and when a city wins a championship, because it works on the flip too. And I was reminded of when they damn near burnt down Cleveland. How when LeBron announced he was leaving because of what it meant to the city economically.
Yeah, yeah,
But
absolutely.
I digress.
Absolutely, absolutely. So definitely, I think that the workshop, the hidden profit workshop is one of the one thing I love about that workshop is so unorthodox of coming to a workshop. We really want to show you what's capable of being able to get beyond the things that we are traditionally able to do and learn. For so long, we've been behind keyboards and so long we've been behind using our phones, and all those things are important, but there's a way forward in how you can really envision a business that works the way you actually want it to work instead of you reacting to it. And I think that if you have the creativity behind seeing your business be something different, and with the way that information is being shared now and the access that you have, I think all things are possible when it comes to that. So I think the
Yeah.
people tap into the workshop. It's ecroftmedia.com workshop/workshop, or I think it's what EC Brain,
EMC Brain.
EMC.
Edward Mary Charlie Brain.com. EMCbrain.com. And we'll see, if not this week, next week, or some Wednesday in the very near future, because if you're not keeping up, you're falling behind. There's no such thing as standing still.
Absolutely. Well, as always, man, it's a pleasure.
Pleasure is all mine, sir. We will tap in again tomorrow. Talk soon.
Yep.
Be well. Peace.